So I am Sheryl Simpson. I was born in St. Mary, grew up most of the time in St. Anne's Bay, moved to Kingston. Before I came here to Trinidad, I was living in Portmore. So I'm here to introduce the ackee to you. All right, so in Jamaica, the ackee is our national dish combined with saltfish. Delicious, I should tell you. And this is what it looks like when it's on the tree. Um, It's poisonous though, if not cleaned properly and if eaten before it's open. When it open, it should look something like this, right? So if it falls from the tree like we have it here, you could put it to open, but don't ever force it to open because it's poisonous, right? And if it's not cleaned properly, it could be poisonous as well. So when we are gonna cook the ackee, we first remove the seed from the ackee. You could use a knife or you could just wring it out. And it have some red things in it we call the vein. Those things must be removed. If not removed, can be poisonous. All right, so that all of that must be done before it is cooked.
How did they know that you had to let it open before you consume it?
Well, I'm not sure, but I grew up hearing that it must be open before, but like any fruit, it must be ripe before you eat it. Well, some fruits can be eaten, but like most fruits, it must be ripe or fit before eating. So I guess in this fashion, the ackee is deemed young,
Right.
right? So when it reached to this stage, I guess it's ripe. It's ready to pick.
Yeah.
Right.
So does it get to that stage on the tree itself?
It does. It
Okay.
does. Well, if you look, you could see some open ones on the tree as well, or the birds get to them. Right. But yeah, it does open like this on the tree, and you're able to pick it. And it's only in Trinidad that the birds eat ackee. I've never seen birds in Jamaica eat ackee.
So
They
Jamaican birds do eat
No,
ackee?
they don't. We never have a problem with with birds eating ackee. The most it stays on the tree and rot.
Oh, serious?
Serious. You are able to go and pick your ackee when it open.
Yeah.
And no birds eating your ackee. I come to Trinidad here and I have to fight the birds.
The birds are not hungry.
Oh God. I have to literally fight the birds to get ackee. So when they pick it, because they pick it for me obviously,
Right.
and I have to put it down like this for it to be open. Because it's hard to get it on the tree because they're eating it.
Wow. And
Right.
but do they eat it only at the right stage or they eat
No,
it at any stage?
look. Just look.
Yeah.
They eating it just so. And it's not poisonous to them.
Okay.
So God takes care of his own.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
So tell me, what is your because I had to go and try to make ackee and saltfish, right?
Oh really?
Yeah, so you gotta tell me, give me your secrets. You gotta give me all your secrets. Give me some of your secrets. How you just make your ackee and saltfish?
But Jamaica never tells its secrets.
Alright, don't give me the secrets then. Give me one in the public domain then.
So if you need to make ackee and saltfish, alright, so saltfish is very salt, so we need to soak that or we need to boil it to get the extra salt off of that because we don't want to have hypertension, right? Alright, so after we have soaked the ackee, we get it to where we want it, not too salt, not too fresh. We are going to clean our ackee, make sure all the red thing is out, the seed is off, and we're going to boil it. So we pre-boil it, right, before. So when we pre-boil it, put that one side and you cut up your seasoning, what side? Trinidad call it side, we say scallion, right?
Yeah.
Your scallion, your thyme, your onion, your tomato. I like to use a lot of tomato.
Right.
The tomato, pepper, yes, most likely.
Yeah.
And all of those seasoning.
Right.
And we combine that, cook up the saltfish, And after you cook up the saltfish with all of those seasoning, you know, you add your little black pepper, your whatever seasoning you want to add to it to give it taste.
Yeah.
And then we put the ackee in.
Right.
And we just stir that around. You know, if you need some added taste, you add some salt if it's too fresh. And yeah, that's it,
All
basically.
right. So next question. What's the best thing to eat with dumpling, bami, or festival?
Oh, Jesus, all of them, they're good. But but I think Jamaicans love to have ackee and saltfish with dumpling, and some people like to have it with white rice. It's nice with white rice.
Okay.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Well, if you eat it for breakfast, you would have it with white rice or more
No.
likely dumpling.
If you're having it with breakfast, you would have it like with dumpling, yam, banana, or yeah,
Or like a
or your
green
fried breadfruit. If you're yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can have it with fried breadfruit,
Yeah.
anything you want. Fry dumpling,
Yeah.
anything you want to have it with for breakfast.
Fried dumpling. Oh, so
Yes.
that is like baked first.
Right, fry
Okay.
bake for you.
Okay, I take your notes, because I'm gonna make this. So, right. So thank you very much. I will be stealing all of your ideas, but I give you full credit.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Okay, so we're back in the kitchen and I am ready to try this recipe that Sheryl shared with me. I have the ackee that I'm going to clean in the way that she mentioned. I have my scotch bonnet pepper, the tomatoes, onion, garlic. I have the chive or scallions, as the Jamaicans would call it, and I have a piece of saltfish here. So, without further ado, let me jump into it one time. So I have the ripe ackee here, and what I'm going to do is clean it in the way that Sheryl advised, and that is to remove this red vein inside. She says that this could be poisonous, so definitely want to remove that and then remove the seed from it. So we're removing the seed, and then just going to use a knife to make sure that the vein is removed from the rest of the fruit. Just following the process of removing the seed from the flesh, like so, and then opening it and making sure that the vein, that little red thing, is removed from the flesh as well. And I really don't want this to be my last episode of So Sheryl did mention that it's poisonous, so we want to be very careful and meticulous in removing the red vein. And I guess this is kind of similar to deveining shrimp. The only difference is the stakes are a lot higher here. If you do devein shrimp, and people just say, you know, that kind of nasty or unclean. Shouldn't use the word nasty. Unclean is a better word. But yeah, the stakes much higher here. There is a little more than just unclean. It could have, you know, fatal consequences. So again, just had to reiterate how important it is to make sure that this is cleaned properly. All right, so that's it. The ackee has been cleaned. Now, because I was so careful with how I clean it, maybe I butchered the ackee. Maybe it have a more elegant way of doing it. I don't know if it have any Jamaicans or anybody who very familiar with the process. Let me know how this looking, but I think we should be good to go here. I am, again, very, very careful with this because it's my first time doing it, and because, you know, the instructions that I got is make sure to remove the red vein or else it could be poisonous. So taking extra careful steps to make sure that it's cleaned. Hope that I've done a thorough job. And the next thing to do is to put it to boil, which I'm going to do now. We're going to put it to boil in some water and then move on to prepping the saltfish. And I'm also going to be making some fried dumpling, or as we know it in Trinidad and Tobago, fried bake. So a nice little complete breakfast meal that's going on here. So let me move on to the next step. Okay, so I have my water almost at a boil here, so I'm going to add the ackee in. And we're going to let this boil, as Sheryl said, for 10 minutes. So we're going to let it boil for that time. keeping an eye on it, of course. And while this is boiling away, doing its thing, I'm gonna start prepping the saltfish one time. All right, so to prep my saltfish, I like to wash off the excess salt on it before I put it to boil. So I'm just rinsing off the excess salt. Make sure to rub it as well to get some of that salt that caked on to the saltfish off. And then we're gonna boil it for about 10 minutes or so. All right, so that's our 10 minutes of boiling for the ackee. So I'm gonna strain this and set it aside, and then I'm gonna put the saltfish to boil. Much like the prep for the ackee, you're just gonna put the saltfish in this hot water and allow it to boil for about 8 to 10 minutes. And while that is boiling away, let's work on prepping the rest of the ingredients. Okay, to make our fried dumpling or fried bake, it's a simple recipe and I'm not making much. I'm not gonna feed our army, so just 1 cup of flour, half teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar, quarter teaspoon of baking powder, and a quarter teaspoon of yeast. Mix that together. Add in half a cup of water. Bring this together. Okay, so bring it together here. It's gonna form it into a ball. All right, and I know at this point people would leave this to rest and then divide it into equal parts, but I, taking a little shortcut step and I'm dividing it one time. And we're gonna leave them to rest for a while. And in the meantime, we're gonna work on putting the ackee and saltfish together. All right, so I have my saltfish that was boiled for the 8 to 10 minutes. Just gonna put it on a plate here. Just mash it with a fork. All right, so now that we have the saltfish prepped and we have all our aromatics prepped and the ackee prepped as well, now is the time to assemble our ackee and saltfish. Gonna go in with a little bit of oil here. Going in with the onions. Let that saute. Garlic. Add in the Scotch bonnet pepper. Add in the ackee and the saltfish. Give that a stir. I'm just gonna let it saute for about a minute before I add the other ingredients. I'm gonna add the chive or scallion and our tomatoes. Real appealing to the eyes. I'm pretty sure it's gonna taste real good. Okay, so I had this sauteing for about 5 minutes. The last thing I wanna do is add a touch of black pepper and some fresh thyme. And that is basically it. Our ackee and saltfish is done. Just gonna taste for salt. Enough salt, we don't need to add any additional salt. So basically that is it, we're done here, we're looking good, tasting good. But to make this a complete meal, I'm gonna do our fry bake or fry dumpling. So let me move on to that. Okay, so I have my 4 dough balls here for my fry bake or my fry dumpling. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some flour on the surface here. And then roll these out till they're about, I would say, 4 to 5 inches in diameter. this should be good. I think this size is a good size for fry bake. All right, so we have our 4 bakes rolled out here. So now it's time to get them fried up, and then we'll be ready to enjoy them with our ackee and saltfish. So I have my oil heated up in our wok. Just gonna add the bake in. Just gonna kind of bathe it with the hot oil so that the top side cooks as well as the bottom side. And so we have that nice pocket forming. Flip it, and allow the other side to cook. Alright, drain off the excess oil. Alright. Alright, so now it is the moment I've been waiting for, and that is to dig in and try this ackee and saltfish. I have my bake here on my fried dumpling. Just gonna cut this open. Just gonna fill this with some ackee and saltfish. I didn't fill it up too much because I had to leave some to take the final picture. So this is just to get the taste and to give you my reaction. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie. This real delicious. And the thing is, I am not the biggest saltfish fan, but if I had to have saltfish, well, ackee and saltfish, I ain't gonna mind it at all because it tastes real good. I had a shout out, I had a big up Sheryl for this recipe. Sheryl come through with the recipe. Spot on. She was spot on. I followed her directions and trust and believe they're saying real things. So, if you have any Jamaicans as well looking at this video and you have any tips or tricks for your boy, leave it in the comment section below. Let me know how to improve maybe the cleaning process, maybe it's the ingredients used, the cooking process. Feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you like this recipe, please give the video a thumbs up and give it a share. And if you do try it, post photos to social media. Would love to see them. As always, a link to the full recipe will be posted in the video description. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please take a moment to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.